even when I started Empower Her, and word was spreading, and we would have a television interview or a newspaper article, and the reporter's always asking, I'd like you to include a father in part of the story, or do you have a young girl, 12-year-old girl who could be part of the story? And at first, because this is so ingrained in me and how I was how I grew up, I was like, how dare you ask to like talk to a girl? Like, this is very private. It was like I needed to get myself out of it. Here I am starting a nonprofit. And same thing for you. I'd be like, Anne Marie, you're a mentor. I'd like you to speak at this event. And you'd be like, I can't. I've never talked about my mother in 20 years. And I'm like, you can do this. Okay. And I'd give you an out. I'd be like, okay, you don't have to do it now.
Yeah.
But I need you to.
It's so scary, like committing to talking to someone who you lost publicly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You don't know what emotions it's going to bring up out of you and how you're going to react. Like, I don't know if I'm going to shut down. Like, even before we recorded this podcast, I'm like, okay, I haven't talked about my dad in a while.
It's
am I going to just start pulling my eyes out? Am I going to be able to talk?
Yeah.
It is tough.
But when you can like sit at the table and like know that like we all kind of know what this is like, it's like, that's what I love.
It helps so much. I think this is the first time I've been in a situation where I'm in a conversation with just people who can relate to me.
Yeah. Right.
Since I've had friends, but I always felt like I didn't want to put the burden back on them, because I had a friend that had lost his mother, years before me, and he always gave me great advice. And then another friend who was going through what I was going through simultaneously. But I've never been in like a situation like this where it's we're all just talking about it and I guess like destigmatizing it too.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like how, like, make it okay.
Yeah.
Why do we grow up thinking it's not okay? And I know it. It's because I'm going to suck the air out of the room. I'm going to ruin everyone's night. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm like, now that I've been talking about Empower Her, and I talk about my mother for the last few years, the first couple of years of doing that like brought me to my knees, like physically ill. And physically ill, seeing a girl like me who's about to walk this same path, I was like physically sick for like 2 years probably. And now it's so hard to explain this, because I think if you don't know grief, if you didn't lose your mom when you were 9 years old of breast cancer, like no one else would understand this except them, right? Or you guys. Is that I couldn't talk about her, but I was desperate to, and I had no way of like saying that, but it should be taught that people can admit, like, I'm going through a really hard time. I'm not okay. I'm really missing my dad, I want to be able to talk about this now. I just need a script to start the conversation. Like, that's what I think we owe each other.